Hello everybody and welcome back to Out of Body. My name is Sabrina and today I'm going to be talking about something that has kind of been going around on the internet lately, especially YouTube. I've noticed this is kind of a question that a lot of people have because it's something that a lot of people experience, and that is sleep paralysis. Now, sleep paralysis is a pretty common thing that a lot of people experience. And it seems like here lately, a lot of people are kind of coming out and asking questions like, well, what is sleep paralysis? And people are kind of talking about it. So I thought I would come on here, talk a little bit about what it is, what it's like, possible causes, and also kind of the out of body side to it. Because a lot of people that are talking about it either don't know or they're not talking about the astral projection side to sleep paralysis. So sleep paralysis is basically when your body is asleep, but somehow your consciousness and your mind wakes up and you can't move. You have the sensation of not being able to physically move your body. And that can obviously be very scary for a lot of people. The analogy I've heard, which kind of helps it make sense to you, especially if you haven't experienced sleep paralysis and you're like, well, what does it really mean? Like, what is it? Well, and I can't remember where I heard this, but one way to explain it is that for most people, when you wake up from sleep or from a nap, there's two switches that get turned on. Now, one of the two switches is your physical body. So one switch that gets turned on when you wake up from sleep is your physical body comes back to life, so to speak, and you can move around. It wakes up. Basically, your body wakes up. The other switch is your consciousness, or your mind, or your brain, or your awareness, whatever you want to call it. That wakes up. So there's two switches, both your body and your awareness, that comes on at the same time normally when you wake up from sleep. So what happens to people when they have sleep paralysis? Well, these people only have one switch that turns on, their awareness. So their awareness turns on, they wake up completely conscious, but their body is literally still asleep. Like, it's not just that it's paralyzed, it's still asleep. Like, I know when I've experienced sleep paralysis, a lot of times I can hear myself snoring, or I can hear myself at least deeply breathing as if I'm still asleep. That's because I am. My body is actually still completely asleep. I feel like that's a better explanation for it. It's called sleep paralysis, but I don't really feel that your body is literally paralyzed. It's just that it's still asleep. So even though you're aware and you're awake, you can't really move your physical body because it's still asleep. It needs to wake up, basically, is what it is. So as you can imagine, if you have not ever experienced sleep paralysis, just from what I just described, it sounds pretty scary, and it is for a lot of people. Now that leads me to the next question I want to answer in this video, which is, should you fear sleep paralysis? Should you be afraid of it? The short answer I have for you is no. The long answer is that it depends on what's causing it, and that's the next thing I'm going to get into, is the possible causes of sleep paralysis. But for me, in general, I would say no, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's very natural. Not everybody experiences it, but it's still a very natural occurring thing. So as far as the causes of sleep paralysis, now, for me, from what I've researched, there's about 3 possible causes. The first 2 I won't get real in-depth into in this video because there's a couple other YouTubers that I know for sure that go more in-depth on the first 2 causes, and I'm going to link their videos down below. It's actually a video by Nihongo Johnny, and there's one by Haley Reese. So both of them go more in depth into the first 2 causes. The first of those being more of a scientific thing. If you're stressed, or it's more kind of anxiety, or you have some sort of sleep condition, like maybe sleep apnea or something like that. That's always a possibility. There's a scientific side to it as to why it happens. The other possible cause is paranormal, which a lot of people jump to that right away with sleep paralysis because it's fascinating to think, about something spiritual being attached to it. Could be, I think in a lot of situations it is paranormal. Not every single one is though. Now, Nihongo Johnny and Haley Reese both go into these first 2 causes a lot more in depth in their videos, and they do a really good job with it, so I'm not even gonna really touch much on that in this video. But I will say that there's there's those two possibilities that if you're experiencing sleep paralysis, it could simply be, stress or some kind of a sleep condition or something from the scientific standpoint, or it could be paranormal. So I would encourage you to watch their videos. I would also encourage you to finish mine though, because what I'm going to be talking about, the third cause, is actually out of body, like astral projection, that maybe you have a natural ability to astral project, because a lot of people can do that through sleep paralysis. So I would encourage you to keep watching this, even though you may think that if you're experiencing sleep paralysis, you may think, oh, it's paranormal, and click out of the video. That's fine, go watch their videos for sure, but I would encourage you to just hear me out on the rest of this and just see if maybe this could be a possibility as to the cause of your sleep paralysis. So getting into how sleep paralysis can tie into astral projection or out-of-body experiences, I kind of need to talk a little bit about my childhood. Not to be weird, but for me, I'm saying this with experience, that ever since my earliest memories, I mean like toddler memories of sleeping, I would experience, I would say, sometimes it was every night, sometimes it was like a couple times a week, once a week, but pretty often when I was really, really young, like I said, like toddler age, I would actually wake up in the middle of the night and I would not be able to move my body. So I would actually experience sleep paralysis pretty often when I was a kid. It was really scary for me. Every time I experienced it, it came with something else. So I wasn't just waking up and not being able to move my body. It would start out that way, and then within seconds or sometimes immediately, I would feel these really, really intense vibrations or kind of a buzzing sensation. It would usually start around my head, like on my right side of my head, and then it would just kind of spread throughout my body. Now, of course, as a kid, I was really scared. I thought something was trying to get me. I thought something was like trying to possess me or come over me. Like that's really what I thought for years. Even on up into college, when I was having it a lot in college, because I think had a lot there because I was stressed. So even then, when I got a lot older, I still thought it was the same thing. I thought that there's just some kind of entity that's just followed me everywhere. That's just every once in a while in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll get this sleep paralysis where I can't move. And I'm like screaming, I'm trying to move and nothing's happening. And all of a sudden I feel this like energy coming over me. It's really, really intense. It feels like it's just gonna take over me. And eventually, after much like screaming on the inside and trying to move, I finally am able to like move a finger or a toe or something. And then I just jerk awake, completely. My body wakes up. So that's what I went through for, gosh, I guess like, I'm 28, and I didn't realize that my sleep paralysis experiences were actually a prerequisite to astral projection until a little over a year ago, a little bit before I started this channel. So really from like age, 2 or 3 to like age 26, 27, I was going through this, and I didn't really tell anybody. I did try to tell a couple of my friends when I was growing up, like, yeah, whenever, it's so weird whenever you experience this thing where you wake up and you can't move, and you got like this presence that's like trying to overcome you. It's like this vibrating thing, and my friends are like looking at me like I just grew green hair, like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, never mind. Just me? Okay. So yeah, I never really told my parents or anything, but like I said, I tried to tell a couple of my friends, and they just kind of made me feel like they had no idea what I was talking about. So I thought, okay, never mind, I just won't talk about it. So that's when I thought I was alone and I was the only one going through it, and that maybe there was just some entity that was haunting me. Well, in my case, that wasn't what was going on. So with all of that being said, about a year ago, I just kind of accidentally stumbled upon a video actually by Haley Reese about astral projection. And so I started to do more research. I was like, what's astral projection? Long story short, learned about all of that and realized that what I had been experiencing since childhood that I was so afraid of wasn't really anything to be afraid of at all. It was actually a natural ability. So that's why I want to talk about this on here and present this side to sleep paralysis, because I think so many people are afraid of it and think that it's just this horrible thing, which it can seem that way. I understand, trust me. I went through about 20 something years of it. For some of you, it might actually be an ability. So I just want to present that to you so you guys can maybe do your own research and see if maybe that's a possibility. So next I'm just going to kind of briefly go into how to astral project when you get sleep paralysis. So that way, if you're unsure if you have this ability, the next time you get sleep paralysis, you can try this and see what happens. So next time you get sleep paralysis, try not to freak out. I know it's easier said than done. Try not to freak out. Try to stay calm and lay there and wait and see if you feel any sort of like vibrations or even like a humming. Now, some people will think it's paranormal because they hear like this, what sounds like someone's humming in their ear, but it's actually like the energy vibrations. It just sounds like a hum for some people. I know sometimes when I would get it, it would sound like a hum and I would think somebody's humming or there's like a bee right next to my ear or something. So stay calm, take a second, wait and see if you experience anything like that. If you do, again, try not to be afraid, just let the vibrations come. They'll usually start around your head. Like for me, I know it's my right side, and then it'll kind of just morph over my whole body. Try to wait until it gets over your whole body, and then don't physically move, but with your mind, try to imagine or try to control one of your limbs to move. Now, I know that doesn't make sense because I just said don't physically move, but you're trying to control your astral body, not your physical body. So simply thinking or imagining, especially imagining that you're moving your arm up, you may find that you actually do, your arm actually does move, but not physically because you're still in sleep paralysis, but you can see like your arm moving up. Now, when that happens, if you're able to do that, what you might see, if you can really notice it and really look, is that you have this arm that's up, but you still have your physical arm that's down. So it's actually your astral arm that's coming out of your body. Another way is simply to just think of floating, like think of the ceiling or floating up to the ceiling. A lot of times your astral body will simply just float up towards the ceiling. I know some people that experience sleep paralysis, they'll say like, oh, I all of a sudden felt like I was like floating or I could feel like the ceiling, or I looked up and there was a ceiling. Well, that was an out-of-body experience. You know, that's why you had the sleep paralysis, was because of that. Now, another method to try when you get the sleep paralysis, especially if you're on your side, like me, if you're a side sleeper, this really works. On your left or your right side, when you get the sleep paralysis, and if you feel the vibrations, even if you don't feel the vibrations, still try this. A lot of people can astral project without getting the vibrations. So it's not necessarily that you have to get that to astral project. Some people don't have to. So if you get sleep paralysis, still try these methods and see if it works for you. So in this third method, basically all you have to do is just think about rolling to the right or to the left. Rolling, not physically again, but just imagine yourself just rolling out of your body. And that works for me pretty much every time. I'll find myself just turn over and all of a sudden like I'm out of my body and I like roll over onto the ground or I float up or whatever. And then I get up and I realize that my body is still in bed asleep. And so I've had an out-of-body experience at that point. So that's just a few methods you can try. If you're interested in learning more in depth about how to do this, I do have a video where I dedicated to that about, it's called How to Leave Your Body. I'll link that in the description as well if you're interested in that. But I just wanted to briefly go over it here just for informational purposes. Again, for those of you who experience sleep paralysis, or even if you don't and you're curious about it and you're wondering, you know, what is it? Is it something to be afraid of? Is it not? What causes it? You know, and all of that. I just wanted to bring my side of it to the table because I feel like most people on YouTube and everywhere pretty much, they mostly talk about the scary aspect of it or the scientific aspect of it. Very few people talk about the out-of-body aspect of it, or if they do, they're not really sure, and they're like, I think I had an out-of-body experience, I don't know. So that's why I wanted to do this, to kind of tell you guys, that there is that side to it, that some people who experience sleep paralysis, especially naturally, especially if it's been since childhood, I feel it could be an ability, and it's really fun. I will encourage you. I know for some people it's kind of intimidating or kind of scary, but it really can be very fun, and so I'd encourage you to try it if you're interested at all. Personally, I feel like everybody has the ability, but it does come easier to some than others. So people like me, it just comes completely natural. I don't have to really do anything. And then some people have to actually, take steps to trigger it to happen, if that makes sense. So that is the end of this video. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this isn't too long. I tried to make it short, but I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope it helped. I hope it helped inform some people. I hope that if you kind of randomly stumbled upon this video, that you're able to learn something. And if you want to hear more about astral projection or out-of-body experiences, I try to post a video about that as much as I can. I've had my own experiences for about a year now, and I try to blog them on here and talk about them and answer any questions that people have. So you might check back on my channel if you're interested in the topic. But thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.